Hello guys, welcome back to another video, and it's another video on the BMW 1 Series there behind me. And this one is going to be not necessarily 5 things that I hate, but more 5 things that I dislike, shall we say. So let's get into it then. Okay then, so this is a 2005 BMW 130i in the E87 chassis, which is the 5-door hatchback. Now let's get into the things that I slightly dislike about this car. The first one of which then is that this car does not have a great amount of interior space. It is definitely not a family car. So if we take a look in the front, we can see we do have ample space. Definitely we do have ample space in here, you know, good enough to fit 2 adults in the front for sure. But then if we take a look in the rear, we really are lacking legroom. So in my opinion, you are going to struggle to fit 2 adults in the rear of here, let alone 3 adults. You know, there is a 3rd seat in the middle, but you realistically are only going to fit a small child in there. So if you do have small kids, then this car could be ideal for you. But if you do have teenagers, or if you need to transport adults around, then this really is not the ideal car for doing that. With that being said though, the boot space is actually pretty decent in one of these things. You know, I would say this is probably slightly bigger than the average hatchback in terms of boot space. You can definitely get a pushchair in here and, you know, some bags of shopping and whatever else. But yeah, decent sized boot, but you definitely are paying for that with the lack of legroom in the rear of one of these things. The next thing then that I kind of dislike, and I know it's kind of to be expected, this is a BMW 1 Series, the entry level BMW, but it is the lack of quality in the materials used. Now, I know it would kind of be crazy to compare this to my BMW 5 Series, but I am going to. The difference in the level of material used is absolutely massive. Like, it's miles apart in my opinion. And yeah, it kind of does feel a little bit cheap. Now, first of all, the doors, they are much lighter. That can kind of be a good thing or a bad thing, really, depending on how you look at it. But some of the plastic trims that are used throughout the car, yeah, after 10-15 years or so, they are going to either need replacing, or it's just going to be something that you're going to have to live with, you know, with them being a little bit worn or loose. But yeah, let's not really talk too much about the quality of materials. Another thing that I kind of dislike about this car, and again, it is to be expected, and that is the comfort. Now, for everyday town driving, this car is fine. You know, it definitely does its job. Now, as I mentioned, there's not a whole lot of space in the rear, so your passengers in the back, they're not going to have the greatest comfort. But the fact that these seats are very small, they are low to the ground, means that on long journeys it can be a little bit uncomfortable. You know, I'm going to compare it again to my BMW 5 Series, which I know you're going to be screaming at me saying, why are you comparing a 1 Series to a 5 Series? But I'm just being honest. You know, if you are doing a lot of, you know, long journeys, you know, say if you have to do a long commute, or, you know, you do a lot of family trips away, you know, each year, then I would not recommend a BMW 1 Series to do that job. After, say, 2 to 3 hours constant driving, your back will tend to ache. So it's definitely something to consider. If you're doing a lot of long journeys, don't take the BMW 1 Series. Another thing that I dislike, and you could even say this is something that I do genuinely hate, is the fact that we have no spare wheel. Now, if we take a look in the boot, and you would kind of expect the spare wheel to be in here, but no, we have the battery. Now, this is actually the same on the BMW 3 Series, the E90 as well, that does not have a spare wheel. And that is because BMW are relying on you to use run flat tyres, which I do not have run flat tyres. I have Michelin Pilot Sport 4 tyres on. I'm not a fan of the run flat tyres at all. I just want to say that the run flat tyres are terrible. They compromise your handling, they make the ride terrible, but they do kind of save you, if you have a flat tire. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, if you don't have run flats, you do in fact need breakdown cover, which of course I have. It's a 16-year-old car. Why would you not have breakdown cover? And the fifth and final thing that I dislike about this car is to do with the suspension. Now, I have mentioned in another video that this thing handles absolutely amazing until it comes to speed bumps. Now obviously this is a pretty low car, it's an M Sport model after all. Now that does bring improved handling over the SE model, but when it comes to speed bumps, this thing really does crash over them and you end up bottoming out and scraping the bottom of your front bumper. Now whether or not this is just a feature of the standard M Sport suspension, or in fact the shock absorbers are just worn now and they need replacing, I don't know. I'm more than likely going to be replacing the entire suspension setup anyway, just for some fresh replacements. But yes, definitely something to consider if you do have an M Sport model. Going over speed bumps, you do want to be very, very careful. I don't tend to go over 10 miles per hour under any circumstances, unless of course you want your bumper to be ripped off. Okay then, so I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. It has been 5 things that I dislike on my BMW 1 Series. Hopefully you've learned something from it. If you have, please give this video a like, leave a comment down below, subscribe if you have not already done so, and I will see you all in that next one. Peace!